Today, I have created a fantastic original way to show you exactly how you can improve a specific business, giving you a game plan, exactly what I do with real clients when I do an audit through the Pelchat Group. Okay, so here she is, the culmination of many hours of work. So we have built this business report generator, simulator, whatever you want to call it. We've got this luxurious, beautiful rainbow wheel here, which has different industries on there. We've got about 46 different service industries that we can choose from, or that the computer can kind of choose from here. We've got a spin button that allows us to actually spin the wheel and figure out what random industry we're going to be talking about today. Now, as we scroll down, you can see we've got all of these different marketing channels down below. These are the most common things that people are doing in the service business industries, and we are going to throw them into the list, and we're going to say, hey, these are the different things that can populate, and it's going to give us real revenue data. So if we're going to do real revenue data, and I'm going to have to look at some stuff, I need my calculator. There she is. There we go. We've got our calculator. We're going to throw that down and get that ready, because you guys know I love my calculator. So we're going to go ahead and spin this up and see what industry we get, and hopefully it's something that I enjoy, because sometimes maybe some of these industries, let's see. We get general contractor. This is a perfect one. This is directly right up my alley of what I enjoy working with and what I have the most experience with. So this is going to be great. Now, the awesome thing here is the software kind of gives us this nice display, and it's going to say start the audit. So essentially we built a game out of exactly what I do every day. So we're going to start the audit and see what kind of information we're getting here. And you can see here's our generated report. So we've got our KPIs all based off the past 30 days. So I'm actually going to grab a pen and my little pad here, just in case I need to take some notes and write some stuff down, because it always going through my head here. So the nice thing instantly that you see when you look at this report is the average job value. So the nice thing about these general contractors, average job value of $18,000 is phenomenal, right? If you're working with someone that's only making $100, it's a lot harder. It becomes a volume game, and you got to really optimize down to the percentage. When your job value is 18,000, well, you can spend a little bit more on ads. So let's take a little look here and see what we've got going on. Hopefully it's not just my kind of AI software that I've built here, but some of these numbers just really stick out to me right away. You're looking at, 18,000 average job value, not super outrageous for a general contractor. But I do see the ROI as 13,409.8%. Sounds a little bit questionable on my end. Maybe it's just how it's set up and tracking and whatnot, but that's initial red flag. They're a little questionable. The next thing I'm looking at is the close rate of 33%. Pretty good, honestly, for this type of, industry with this average job value. You can't be, who's going to complain about 33% close rate on that? So, like I said, these are based on the 30-day data, so we've got 434 leads. I'm curious to see once we go into the channels where this is actually coming from, because 434 leads into 290 booked appointments with 232 shows and 77 closes tells me that you have a really, really great, inflow of leads. If you're getting 400 plus leads in a month, that's a pretty big, business. I don't think this close rate to this amount of leads is super ideal. We definitely want that to be higher, which it looks like, you're missing out on 134, 144 or so leads that didn't ever get booked, and then 200 that didn't go into an actual shown appointment. So drastic numbers there. We can definitely obviously pull some revenue out of that, but looking at the rest of it, we got a $24 cost per lead. Honestly, pretty freaking low for the industry, and a CAC of 134. Again, you're going to the 18,000, so that's how they're getting the ROI number. CAC of 134 sounds really, really low unless it's a ton of word of mouth, and that's really drawing down. But let's take a look in the channels and see what we're talking about. So the channels is going to break down and show, am I running Google ads? Am I doing display ads? Or, what is my industry? What am I working with? And what am I using as an offer on that platform? So if I click channels and offers here, you can see we've got word of mouth as the top one, and you can see the offer average job value of 27,000. So that's a really good number. They're doing a $50 referral credit. That's not even worth anything. I mean, if your average job value is 27,000 and you're offering a $50 referral credit, that you're basically just spitting in the person's face. So At that point, we need to say, either come up with a new referral structure. There's a ton of different ways that you can do that and really get some better, word of mouth referrals going. For this business, I mean, it seems like it's cranking without that, unless they're spending a ton of money. But it said it was only 10,000 to spend, so a little curious how that's going to be. But 2 leads in the month, and there doesn't look like there's a close rate on here on those specific leads, but we've got 27,000 as an average job value with 2 leads. $50 referral credit, bad offer, needs to be replaced if you want to expand your referrals. Scrolling down here, we've got Facebook and Meta ads with an average job value of a little bit lower, 22.9, a little bit more to be expected. But here we've got a 5-star review push plus photo proof. So I'm assuming this is the offer as far as what is their ad, what are they running. So they're doing something with a 5-star review and using some photo proof, probably for maybe some before and afters, not sure. But it does look like they're doing local targeting, and they have an offer hook into a lead form or click to call. Pretty standard stuff. They're probably doing this on a landing page, I'd assume, with the lead form. So somewhat good. Without diving into their funnel and diving into what they're doing in the back end, it's tough to say where the improvements could be made here. I definitely want to see what their landing page looks like. I also want to see what their actual conversion rate is. Oh, it says right here, 30% conversion rate. Okay, now we're talking. So we've got 10,000 in spend for 386 leads, cost per lead of $27. Pretty standard on Facebook. Honestly, not super crazy. Click-through rate 1.7, conversion rate of 3. Really, honestly, not bad at a $1 cost per click in. Overall, these numbers are actually pretty good for a Facebook ad. You can see, like I said, they're doing local targeting, which is good. I think on the KPIs section, it says, yeah, they're doing about 32-mile radius. So they have a decent amount of depth and, ability to expand. So it's really not a bad, these aren't bad numbers. The big thing is going to come with these 386 leads. I would almost guarantee when you go back to the KPIs and you look at this number of leads to shown appointments, I would guarantee that a lot of these are probably coming from this number to this number that are lost, are probably coming from this Facebook ad. They're probably spending a lot of money on basically wasted time, people who aren't responding. So that's where, those automated follow-ups and just having those things that are going to create the touch points between the time that they fill out the form and when they actually, have the appointment, or, when they're sold on things, that's going to be super key here, because you're spending a ton of money. I mean, 10 grand a month on Facebook ads isn't like outrageous, but for a local service business, 100%, that's going to be a killer amount for your local market. So to be pulling in that amount of leads, like I said, you're getting that lower quality stuff without doing, the Google ads, which is kind of the thing that I would say here is that's what's missing. Looks like the only other thing that this business would be doing is email marketing. So they're offering an annual tune-up. Not sure what they're tuning up as a general contractor, probably something specific. But they're doing a little bit of nurture and reactivation for past leads and customers. So, they're just kind of throwing all these people in. So that's where they are getting a little bit of added benefit, because they have these 386 leads. The thing that was standing out a lot to me here is they got 46 leads in a month from this with an average job value of 25%. And you see the conversion rate on this being 115%. So that tells me that they're having really, really warmed up leads inside of their email marketing funnel. And whatever they're doing in that offer is working. So my first thought would be, hey, let's take that offer that we're using. Who's responding to it? Dive a little bit deeper. Who is the audience that's responding to it? Maybe even taking these leads that are coming from that form, that are responding to that form, building it up over a few months and getting a decent audience, and then doing like a lookalike audience on Facebook, and maybe just offering, that kind of offer to those kind of people. That way you could expand and scale and, pull in a lot cheaper of a high quality lead, assuming this 115% conversion rate. If these people are really crushing on here, then, that's, what we're going to be wanting. I mean, the average value of these people is going to be higher than the standard, just kind of, throw it out there with some local targeting. And then on the word of mouth side, I mean, so now the other thing that I'm thinking here is why are we not doing anything on Google, right? A general contractor, you could be doing so many different things, right? There's probably specific things you really like to do or things that are just so ridiculously valuable to you. Like maybe your area, you have one specific thing that's like, hey, if I do, I don't know, bathrooms or just something weird, it might be something that's specific to your area, maybe just decks or whatever it is. If you were to do that one specific thing, you would enjoy it and you just make a killing. Like your profit margins are ridiculous and you should lean into that. So why not even just test it out at the beginning and just say, hey, we're just going to batch up some of the keywords for a Google Ads account that's going to be within this, specific keywords. Maybe like I said, maybe say it's decks or something. We're just going to target a bunch of stuff about deck building in a very specific and niche targeted area, and we're just going to go after that and spend some money on it. Now, the reason you would do that is you're getting those people that are kind of a little bit lower in the funnel because they're actively searching for it. Where on Facebook, you're looking, very, very wide top of funnel. So we want to find those people that are a little bit further down that are actually going to, be ready to, make a move. The nice thing is you already have a steady flow of leads and it sounds like things are somewhat well. I do think there is some room to kind of improve on the KPI side, just based on your close rates and your shown rates definitely need some improvement. We'll take a look at the cadence here in a second, which will really give us a little bit more of a breakdown of what you're doing and hopefully identify what's going wrong there. Phone, give them a call, leave them a voicemail. You always want to hit them with an email and you always want to hit them with a text if it's possible. Now, the texting thing, ATP regulations and all that kind of good stuff, you're technically supposed to get, them to check off a box and consent to being texted and whatever. So if you don't have that, maybe don't do the texting right away. But if you do and you want to go all the way and really optimize things, 100%, a lot of people are going to respond to text, especially if you're getting those leads during the day. If your leads are coming in anywhere between 9 and 5 p.m., if you can text them as well, because chances are they're going to be at work and they're not going to be able to pick up the phone, then we want to make sure we're tapping in on those guys. So day 0, which, that should be your immediate, you should be hitting them all across the board. It's a very interesting cadence here. 0 days, 2 days, 6 days, 13 days. I know that with general contractor, some of the projects can, be a little bit more drawn out and a little bit longer, which is where retargeting can kind of come into play. But in this situation, you've got an email at day 0, a call 2 days later, and then 4 days later, you're hitting them with one more email. And then what is it? Another 6 or 7 days it's another 7 days. You're doing a call and an email. Not really the most optimized. So this is almost raising the biggest red flag to me that this is what you should be doing first, right? If you can dial this process in, automate it. It's so quick to automate nowadays with, Make or Zapier or any of those kind of softwares and just link it up with your Gmail, even if that's what you're using. If it's kind of I think you got 5 employees, if you're the guy. So essentially what we want to do is hit them right away on the email, hit them right away on the phone. Realistically, under 30 seconds, if you can get them on the phone, under 5 minutes at the absolute worst case. I think the time to lead here is 9 minutes. Get that under 5 minutes, get that under 30 seconds, as fast as you can pick up that phone and get that person on it. Like while they're thinking about it, they're going to be kind of impressed and caught off guard when they answer the phone. And then you just hit them with a, hey, this is blah, blah, blah. Can you hear me okay? You go into your, your little sales pitch, whatever you do to set the appointment. Your percentage of people on here from the 434 leads to the 290 booked will instantly skyrocket. And you may be doing, I don't know, say 350 booked out of the 434 rather than, just doing an email and then missing out on 144 potential jobs, which 144 potential jobs at 18,000, 144 times 18,000, $75, that is $2.6 million in potentially lost revenue. So we want to make sure that we're capturing and grabbing as much of that as possible. Now, the cool thing is you're still doing 1.4 million in revenue, right? So you got a nice little 7-figure business going. If you're consistent with that and it's all year round, it doesn't slow down for the seasons. I mean, you're pulling in a pretty hefty sum in the revenue with only 5 employees. Probably subcontractors, probably expenses. Don't know what profit margins are on that, but I would assume, it's probably making some somewhat decent money at that stage, depending on how you're running it and if you're, optimizing everything to your best efforts. To do 10,000 in spend and that's all you're spending, and then making 1.4 million, no one is going to complain about that. Obviously, you have 5 employees and you've got some other expenses and stuff, so insurances and whatnot. But when we're looking at these different things, that's kind of my first thought is improve that cadence, automate that, get someone on the phone specifically. If you're pulling in this volume of leads and you only have this many, that means you have 144 people per month for every past month that you've been doing marketing. And you need to be emailing, texting, and follow up calls on those people to try and get them back in and try and give them some sort of offer. Be doing some retargeting, be running some lookalike audiences on Facebook, or just putting those people into a custom audience and then doing some specific targeted ads on there. Just really getting down into like the nitty gritty and finding out what you can do with the money you've already spent. Because if you're spending $10,000 a month on Facebook and you've been doing this for a year, right, you've spent $120,000 and you've missed out on potentially, assuming you were missing 144 leads to shown appointments, or leads to booked appointments rather. That's a hefty 1,728 leads, or 1,728 people who are potentially ready to pay you $18,000 or more. Now, sure, does all this sound, super easy and super basic? Of course it does. Of course it does. This is 1,000-yard view with the information that I was able to pull here on this generated report from chat. But these are just some simple things. I mean, it's pretty basic when I look at these numbers, right? I'm a big numbers guy when it comes down to this. Like, if you don't have the data to support it and to back up your thoughts, then you can't really have an opinion or a thought on it, because you can't just go off the feelings and the emotions that you have. So looking at just this baseline data, there's a lot of things that kind of stand out to me. I would love to see what the website looks like. I would love to listen to some phone calls. I would love to be able to look at the cadence a little bit more and see what you're saying in those emails and the messaging, and who's responding, and just kind of what the follow-up sequence looks like on that, because things always end up lost in the weeds. What's your CRM? Well, like, what is your software stack in general? Do you have a good phone system? Are you using a bad phone system? Are you just using your personal phone? Like, a million different things that we could be talking about here outside of this. But this report is mainly just going through the numbers and just kind of the main basics of the offer. So I think there's some real good, valuable information in this video, and hopefully it helps you out here for free. If you have a business that has over, 250,000 in revenue or so, and you're looking to grow and take that next step and kind of figure out what's working and what's not, you can go to the top link in the description. You can get a 7-minute Loom video. I'll record the screen, kind of go through the different things of your business, give you a few pointers on how to improve it. And then, we can always go to the next steps if it sounds like it would make sense. But if you want to learn more about improving your business and taking it to the next level for free here on YouTube, go ahead and click the little box right up here and watch that video. It'll help you out just the same.